Today, we're honored to be speaking with one of Guyana's own, and of course he is Caribbean Life, Dr. Vincent Adams. Tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Oh, well, I'm from Linden. Well, yes. There's a differentiation between Linden and Christiansborg.
Okay.
So I'm from Christiansborg, Linden. Christiansborg is on the western bank of Linden, but I grew up there in the alleys of Christiansborg. My aspiration was really to play cricket for the West Indies, and I made it probably halfway. I represented Guyana at a very young age, in my, as a 19-year-old. Played for Guyana, and then I got into an automobile accident, and my entire life changed. And I look back, and it was definitely for the better. But that's how I ended up in academics. Yes. But I did grow up in Linden, and I went to the University of Guyana. As a matter of fact, I was in the first class of engineering graduates from the University of Guyana. I worked 4 years at the Guyana Water Authority. As a matter of fact, we were the engineers who started the Guyana Water Authority, now called the Guyana Water Inc. And of course, we left and went to the United States and to go to graduate schools, and ended up eventually working for the United States Department of Energy. Yep.
When can I go back? How am I going to serve? So you talked about retirement. So that's what kind of prompted you think to go back and say, I'm going to extend the education that I've acquired here and also in the area that you're in to help us, help them?
Well, in general, I think the time is now, to be honest.
Okay.
I guess most of the audience know that Guyana is going to become one of the world's largest producers of oil. It suddenly happened in 2015, which is just getting, 4 years ago. Right. And production is scheduled to get started maybe at the end of this year or early next year. And of course, we do not have the capacity to handle it.
Yes.
So the government is really looking for support from abroad. Okay. And especially, I've been, and I'm sure that it makes sense, I've been one of the strongest advocates of utilizing the diaspora, because you remember we had this so-called brain drain, which may turn out to be a blessing in disguise, with all of the capable Guyanese, the resources and the knowledge and skills that they've acquired abroad. Here's an opportunity for them to give back to their native land, and that's the one thing with Guyanese, they always stayed connected. Yes. I mean, you can see that even from the reception here in Atlanta last night. It's always very supportive, so they always stay connected. And I think this here is an opportunity to go back. I can tell you, I've really been, well, besides the challenges of my job, I've really been enjoying life in Guyana in terms of, the weather, the fresh fruits and vegetables, and the food, and everything else. And then, you get back to your culture, and you feel comfortable. When you're here, you feel like a stranger. Yes. Especially in the places that I was working, like in Tennessee, and so I did not have that Guyanese or even West Indian culture. So it really means a lot to me to be back home, and I'm really enjoying. Now there are lots of challenges.
We're going to take a break and come on back with us as we talk again with Dr. Vincent Adams. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking again with Dr. Vincent Adams, visiting from Guyana. We're here at our 49th Republic anniversary of Guyana. We're here at Stonecrest, and we're talking with Dr. Adams as we talk about the political climate in Guyana, travel to Guyana, going back to Guyana, and how we can just infuse ourselves into, as I say, the preservation of our country and moving forward. So, Dr. Adams, we left off talking about travel.
Yes.
Why should we go back? And let me just ask this question. People are always asking, is it safe to go back home? So let everyone hear your answer.
Sure, and I think it's exaggerated a lot of times. And why it's exaggerated, if there's a break-in of a home, it's in the newspapers.
Yes.
There are you know, some isolated cases of murder and those type of things, but Guyana is safe. As a matter of fact, I recently had conversation with the Minister of Public Security, Cameron Ramjatan, and he was even giving me some statistics. Crime has been down over, I think it's close to 15% over the past couple of years or so. I think it goes down a certain percentage every single year. So the trend is down.
Yes.
So Guyana is safe.
I actually also saw a renovation of our airport. Can you tell us what that's like? Oh gosh,
it's, I don't know, for those of you who hadn't been home for the past few months, I would say the airport is really modern now.
I saw it.
For the entire, well, now we've got those walkways into the plane itself. I think they're.
Oh, we did have that. That's right. Look, it's been such a while.
If
you try to remember.
If you go, I mean, you would not recognize that airport. And it's still, they're still continuing the construction.
Yes.
So they've done a marvelous job, and it's easy to get into the airport and get out of the airport.
So let's take our last break, and we'll come on back. See you in a bit. So let's talk about the political climate.
Yes.
I was reading about this no confidence vote. Tell our listeners what that is.
Oh, back home we call it the Charandas affair. And what had happened, I think it was on the 21st or 23rd of December, I can't remember the exact date, but we had the opposition party called a no confidence vote against the government, and a member of parliament on the government side switched and vote yes. And of course, you know, there's a very, very slim balance. It's 32-33 in favor of the government. Well, if you flip, it becomes now 33-32 in terms of the votes. The government appealed it, went to court, and they lost in the first round. Now it's being appealed, and who knows where it's going to end up. In the meantime, the GEOCOM, the organization responsible for conducting elections, they just made a decision here that they've got to go and do house to house, looking at the registration. House registration of the voters, because apparently the voters list is way out of date, etc. So the Constitution calls for elections to be held 90 days after any no confidence vote of this sort.
Welcome back, welcome back. So we're going to wrap up with Dr. Vincent Adams, and we are going to talk about everyone who wants to go home, anyone, and how we can help with our service. So Dr. Adams, tell us why we should come back, and in what capacity should we be able to serve?
Well, you know, we hear and we talk about oil. And you know, I always say, and I do not say this flippantly, you know, in all seriousness, Guyana has the potential to become the richest country on the planet. Just think about it. Besides the oil, which is really the big thing right now that people are focusing attention to. Guyana does not have the kind of disaster or weather conditions such as hurricanes and tornadoes, even flooding. Because, you know, that's controllable. Tsunamis and those type of things. We have very fertile land. Most of the land is not even occupied. Most of the people live along the coastline. So Guyana is about 83,000 square miles, the biggest country, as a matter of fact, of all the countries in that area, you know, the islands, if you talk about the West Indies.
Yes.
So that land, you've got lots of land. You know, I tell folks too, you know, oil is really, it's the impetus for everything. The revenues are going to be coming in, and the most important thing is how does the government invest the revenues for the future sustainability of the country.